In the unending darkness between the filaments of the cosmic web, where time itself seems to stretch and thin, there exist islands of impossible light. These are the galaxies, the great celestial cities where matter has triumphed over emptiness, where gravity has sculpted chaos into breathtaking order. They are living things, breathing on timescales of 100 million years, inhaling pristine hydrogen from the intergalactic medium and exhaling the heavy, complex elements forged in the hearts of their stellar children. They are symphonies of creation, each star a note, each nebula a resonant chord, playing out a cosmic score written in the language of physics. We are accustomed to their noise, their light, their ceaseless activity. But far from our own galactic shores, in a desolate void where the universe's expansion has swept the cosmos clean, lies an anomaly. A place of profound and unsettling quiet. It is known to the few who have glimpsed its ghostly light as N9, the Silent Galaxy. From a distance, it is beautiful, a perfect, incandescent spiral of ancient, ruby-red stars, its arms wound tightly around a core of impenetrable darkness. It possesses all the raw materials for life, for creation, for a vibrant future. Vast, tranquil clouds of gas, billions of times the mass of our own sun, drift through its spiral arms, reservoirs of potential, cosmic wombs waiting to quicken. Yet, they remain empty. No brilliant blue jewels of newborn stars punctuate its arms. No energetic nebulae glow with the fury of stellar nurseries. There is only the cold, fading light of a trillion dying suns and the suffocating silence of a future that was denied. The galaxy is a pristine tomb, a cradle that has become a crypt. Its stars are not being born, they are dying before they can ever begin. What terrible, unseen force has descended upon this place? What cosmic malediction has rendered a galaxy so rich with promise so utterly sterile? This is the story of a celestial kingdom poisoned from within, of a monster that lurks at its very heart, and of a silence that screams louder than any supernova. We have listened to the darkness and heard its tale. Now, let us begin. Music. To comprehend the profound tragedy of N9, one must first understand the sacred rhythm of a living galaxy, the intricate and violent dance that gives birth to stars. A galaxy like our own Milky Way is not a static collection of objects but a dynamic, self-regulating ecosystem. Its lifeblood is gas, primarily hydrogen, the simplest and most ancient of elements, the raw material of creation. This gas is not uniform, it is a vast, churning ocean, its currents shaped by gravity and stellar winds. It gathers in immense, cold, and dark structures known as giant molecular clouds. These are the stellar nurseries, the cosmic cathedrals where the universe performs its greatest miracle. They are colossal, spanning hundreds of light years, their interiors colder than any place on Earth, just a few degrees above absolute zero. In this profound chill, atoms slow their frantic dance, and a fundamental force begins to assert its dominance: gravity. Gravity is the patient sculptor of the cosmos. Within these clouds, it is a whisper at first, a subtle, inexorable pull. Denser pockets of gas begin to draw in their surroundings, a slow, gravitational infall that can last for millions of years. The cloud begins to fragment, collapsing in on countless centers of accumulating mass. As these fragments, these protostellar cores, grow denser, the pressure and temperature at their centers begin to climb. The process is a delicate balance. The inward crush of gravity is fought by the outward push of gas pressure. For a star to be born, gravity must win. And often, it needs help. The galaxy is a violent place. When a massive star reaches the end of its life, it does not go quietly. It explodes in a supernova, a cataclysm of unimaginable power that for a brief moment can outshine its entire host galaxy. This explosion sends a shockwave roaring through the interstellar medium, a tsunami of energy and matter. When this wave crashes into a nearby molecular cloud, it acts as a trigger. It compresses the gas, pushing regions past the tipping point where gravity's pull becomes irreversible. The supernova, an act of death, becomes the midwife for a new generation of stars. This is the great cycle: stars are born, they live, they die, and in their death, they seed the galaxy with heavier elements and trigger the birth of new suns. It is a process of cosmic recycling, a self-perpetuating engine of creation. The spiral arms of a healthy galaxy are ablaze with this process. They are marked by the brilliant, fierce blue light of massive, young O-type and B-type stars, stars that burn hot and fast, living for only a few million years. Their intense ultraviolet radiation ionizes the surrounding gas, causing it to glow in vibrant shades of pink and red, creating the beautiful emission nebulae like Orion or the Eagle Nebula, with its iconic pillars of creation. These glowing clouds are the signposts of an active, fertile galaxy. They are the galaxy's vital signs, proof that its heart is still beating. The silence of N9 is the absence of this pulse. Its vast molecular clouds, which should be glittering with the light of stellar newborns, are dark and inert. They drift through its spiral arms not as nurseries, but as phantoms, ghosts of a potential that was never realized. The shock waves of ancient supernovae have long since dissipated, and no new ones have occurred to take their place. The great cycle has been broken. The gas within N9 is a sleeping giant that cannot be woken. It is cold, it is dense, it is plentiful. It feels the pull of its own gravity, a deep, internal yearning to collapse, to fragment, to ignite the nuclear fires that would transform it into a legion of suns. But some invisible, pervasive force holds it back, keeping it in a state of suspended animation, forever on the cusp of creation but never allowed to cross the threshold. It is a galaxy locked in a state of cosmic purgatory, a place where the necessary ingredients for life are abundant, yet the recipe for creation has been fundamentally and irrevocably corrupted. To look upon N9 is to witness a failure of physics on a galactic scale, a cosmic engine stalled in perpetuity. The silence is not one of peace, but of profound, eternal frustration. The first astronomers to turn their sophisticated arrays towards the faint smudge of light that would become known as N9 were not searching for a mystery. They were conducting a census, mapping the distribution and properties of distant galaxies to better understand the grand architecture of the universe. N9 was just another data point in a vast cosmic survey. But as the light, having traveled for billions of years across the expanding void, was collected and analyzed, a deep and unsettling strangeness began to emerge. The initial spectroscopic readings were baffling. They showed a galaxy dominated by the cool, red light of an ancient stellar population. These were old, slow-burning stars, relics from a bygone era, now entering their long twilight. This in itself was not unusual. Many elliptical galaxies are red and dead, having exhausted their gas reserves long ago. But N9 was not an elliptical. Its morphology was that of a majestic grand design spiral, a form synonymous with vigorous, ongoing star formation. The contradiction was stark and immediate. Where were the young stars? Where were the telltale spectral signatures of ionized hydrogen, the glowing H-alpha emission lines that are the unambiguous fingerprint of stellar nurseries? They were completely, unnervingly absent. The galaxy's light was the equivalent of a city at night with no streetlights, no neon signs, no illuminated windows, only the dim, fading embers of a fire lit long ago. Further investigation only deepened the puzzle. Using radio telescopes, teams scanned N9 for the presence of cold molecular gas, the fuel for star birth. The results were astonishing. N9 was not gas-poor. On the contrary, it was brimming with it. The observations revealed colossal reservoirs of pristine hydrogen and helium, enough to form billions of new suns, perhaps more than what is currently available in our own Milky Way. The fuel tank was full, overflowing even, but the engine was cold. The galaxy possessed the body of a vibrant, youthful spiral but the soul of a dying relic. It was a ghost, a perfect celestial edifice with no inhabitants. Scientists ran simulations, modeling every known process that could halt star formation. Had the gas been stripped away by a close encounter with another galaxy? No, the data showed the gas was still there, neatly settled into the galactic disk. Had it been used up in a sudden, violent burst of star formation in the distant past? Perhaps, but that didn't explain why the remaining, abundant gas was now inert. Every conventional explanation failed. N9 was an outlier, a violation of the established rules of galactic evolution. It was a place where the fundamental process of cosmic creation had simply stopped. The scientific community began to speak of it in hushed, reverential tones. They called the phenomenon quenching, a gentle word for a process of such profound and devastating consequence. Something had quenched the fires of N9, extinguishing its future before it could unfold. The search for the culprit began, and suspicion quickly fell upon the darkest, most enigmatic object in the known universe, the monster that lurks at the center of every great galaxy. Deep within the heart of N9, shrouded by the thick veils of gas and the combined glare of a billion ancient stars, lies a gravitational singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics as we know them break down. It is a supermassive black hole, an object of truly incomprehensible scale. This is N9 prime, a behemoth weighing as much as several billion suns, a gravitational anchor around which the entire galaxy revolves. Such entities are not passive residents, they are the engines and, at times, the destroyers of their galactic hosts. Our own Milky Way harbors a relatively placid giant, Sagittarius A, but others are not so benign. When a supermassive black hole actively feeds on surrounding gas and stars, it can unleash more energy than all the trillions of stars in its galaxy combined. It becomes an active galactic nucleus, or AGN. The question that hung in the air, thick with cosmic dread, was simple: could this central monster, this heart of darkness, be responsible for the silence of its own kingdom? Had N9, in a fit of ancient, gluttonous rage, murdered its own galaxy? The evidence was circumstantial, but the motive, the insatiable hunger of a black hole, was terrifyingly plausible. The investigation shifted from the silent spiral arms to the violent, chaotic core, in search of the weapon that had silenced a galaxy. Music. The heart of a galaxy is a place of extremes, a crucible of gravity and light where the universe's most primal forces engage in a constant, violent dialogue. At the center of this maelstrom sits the supermassive black hole, a silent monarch whose influence extends across hundreds of thousands of light years. For most of its life, it is a sleeping giant, content to nibble on the occasional star or gas cloud that wanders too close. But when a significant event, such as a galactic merger, funnels a massive torrent of matter towards the core, the giant awakens. And it awakens with a fury that can reshape the destiny of its entire galaxy. This awakening transforms the black hole into an active galactic nucleus, one of the most luminous and powerful phenomena in the cosmos. The process is a paradox of creation born from ultimate destruction. Matter does not simply fall into a black hole. Its own momentum, its own angular velocity, forces it into a spiraling death dance. It forms a vast, flattened structure around the black hole's equator called an accretion disk. This disk is a cosmic traffic jam of gas, dust, and shredded stars, all being dragged inexorably towards the event horizon. As this material spirals inward, it is crushed by unimaginable tidal forces and accelerated to near the speed of light. The friction within the disk is so immense that it heats the gas to millions of degrees, causing it to blaze with an intensity that defies imagination. The accretion disk of a powerful AGN, a quasar, can shine with the light of a trillion suns, making it visible from across the observable universe. But the light is only part of the story. The intense magnetic fields, generated by the swirling, superheated plasma in the disk, become twisted into colossal, spiraling towers. These magnetic funnels act as cosmic particle accelerators. They capture a fraction of the infalling matter before it crosses the event horizon and, through processes not yet fully understood, launch it away from the black hole in two oppositely directed, tightly collimated jets. These are the relativistic jets, beams of plasma traveling at over 99% the speed of light. They are the black hole's breath, its roar, its weapon. These jets plow through the galaxy's interstellar medium with unimaginable force. They are cosmic blowtorches, heating and energizing everything in their path. When they strike the dense, cold molecular clouds, the stellar nurseries, the effect is catastrophic. The delicate gravitational balance within these clouds is shattered. Instead of compressing the gas to trigger star birth, the jets inject so much energy, so much raw heat and kinetic violence, that they blast the clouds apart. The gas is heated to millions of degrees, becoming a diffuse, hot plasma that is no longer gravitationally bound. It is boiled away, sterilized. This process is known as AGN feedback. It is the galaxy's own heart regulating its growth, a form of cosmic autoimmune disease. The black hole, in its gluttony, effectively starves its host galaxy of the cold gas needed to form new stars. It quenches the galaxy, shutting down star formation not for millennia, but for eons. The jets can extend far beyond the visible confines of the galaxy, inflating enormous lobes of hot, X-ray and radio-emitting gas into the intergalactic medium. These ghostly structures are the signatures of a black hole's past fury, the smoke from a cosmic gun. This was the hypothesis for the silence of N9. That at some point in its distant past, its central black hole, N9, had awakened in a cataclysmic feeding frenzy. It had unleashed its jets, scouring the galaxy from the inside out, heating its vast gas reservoirs to a temperature where star formation became impossible. The quenching event itself would have been ancient, the quasar long since faded as its fuel supply dwindled. What remained now, billions of years later, was the aftermath, a galaxy filled with gas that was still too hot, too puffed up by the lingering energy of that ancient outburst, to collapse and form stars. The silence of N9 was not the silence of emptiness, but the ringing silence in the wake of an explosion of cosmic proportions. The monster had not destroyed the galaxy, it had sterilized it, leaving it beautiful, pristine, and barren for all time. The theory was elegant and terrifying. Now, all that was needed was to find the evidence, to dust for the fingerprints of the killer. To prove that the central black hole was the architect of N9's silent fate, astronomers needed to find the remnants of its ancient rampage. The quasar at its heart had faded billions of years ago, its brilliant accretion disk starved into darkness. The relativistic jets were no longer firing. The crime scene had gone cold. But a cataclysm of that magnitude does not simply vanish without a trace. It leaves scars on the very fabric of spacetime, echoes in the electromagnetic spectrum that persist for eons. The search began not in the visible light that showed the placid, ruddy galaxy, but in the invisible wavelengths where the universe reveals its most violent secrets. Using vast arrays of radio telescopes, sensitive enough to detect the whispers of the early cosmos, astronomers pointed their instruments at the space surrounding N9. They integrated the faint signals for hundreds of hours, filtering out the noise of the cosmos, slowly building an image of what lay hidden in the dark. What emerged from the data was breathtaking. Extending for over 300,000 light-years on either side of N9's galactic disk, far out into the desolate intergalactic void, were two enormous, ghostly lobes. They were completely invisible to the eye, but in the radio spectrum, they glowed with the faint, ethereal light of synchrotron radiation, the telltale sign of high-energy electrons spiraling through weak magnetic fields. These were the fossils of the jets. They were the smoke plumes from the black hole's ancient cannons, now expanded and faded by billions of years of cosmic expansion, but still present, still bearing witness to the power that had created them. The evidence was compelling, but it was not yet conclusive. The final piece of the puzzle lay within the galaxy itself, within the vast, dark clouds of gas that refused to give birth. A different kind of telescope was needed, one that could see not the cold of the clouds, but the heat of the medium between them. Orbiting high above Earth's obscuring atmosphere, X-ray observatories turned their sensitive eyes toward N9. The picture they revealed was the final, damning confirmation. The entire galaxy was embedded in a vast, diffuse halo of multi-million-degree gas. This was the interstellar medium, the space between the stars, and it was unnaturally, pervasively hot. This was the lingering heat from the AGN outburst. The jets had not just blasted through the galaxy, they had fundamentally changed its environment. They had injected so much energy into the galactic halo that it now acted like a warm thermal bath, a cosmic oven. While the dense cores of the molecular clouds remained cold, their outer layers were constantly being heated by this surrounding hot gas. This subtle but persistent influx of energy was enough to disrupt the delicate balance required for star formation. It created a floor to how cold the gas could get, preventing it from reaching the critical density needed for gravitational collapse. The gas clouds of N9 were like pots of water on a stove set to a low simmer. The water was warm, but it would never reach a rolling boil. The clouds were cool, but they could never become cold enough to collapse into stars. The black hole had established a reign of thermal terror. It wasn't actively violent anymore. It didn't need to be. Its past actions had created a self-regulating prison of heat. Any gas that might try to cool and fall towards the galactic center to form stars, or even to feed the black hole again, would be evaporated by the hot halo. The monster had not only sterilized its kingdom but had also erected an impenetrable barrier to ensure it would remain barren, effectively cutting off its own food supply to prevent any future awakenings. N9 was trapped in a perfect, tragic equilibrium of its own making. The evidence was all there, the ancient, dying stars, the vast reservoirs of unused fuel, the ghostly radio lobes testifying to a violent past, and the pervasive X-ray glow of a galaxy-wide thermal prison. The case was closed. The supermassive black hole, N9 was the culprit. It had silenced its galaxy not with a single, swift blow, but with a lingering poison of energy that would suppress the miracle of birth for cosmological ages. The scale of the crime was almost too vast to comprehend, 1 trillion potential suns, 1 trillion potential worlds, all extinguished before they could even begin. Music. To truly grasp the tragedy of N9, we must leave the cosmic scale of radio lobes and X-ray halos behind. We must shrink ourselves down, journeying past the spiral arms and into the heart of one of its silent, brooding molecular clouds. Let us call this cloud Erebus, after the Greek primordial deity of darkness, for it is a place where light has yet to be born. From the outside, Erebus is a vast, inky silhouette against the faint, distant glow of N9's ancient stars. It is a knot of profound blackness, hundreds of light-years across, a cold, dense shadow containing the mass of a million suns. This is the raw stuff of creation, the clay from which stars and planets are sculpted. Within its depths, the temperature plummets to a mere 10 degrees above absolute zero. Here, hydrogen atoms have long since paired up to form stable molecules, drifting in a slow, silent ballet. Gravity is the dominant force in this realm. It is a palpable presence, a constant, gentle pressure pulling everything inward. The cloud feels this pull in its very essence. It yearns to collapse. Denser filaments of gas weave through its interior like cosmic arteries, channeling material towards knots of even greater density. These are the protostellar cores, the seeds of future suns. One such core, let us imagine, lies deep within Erebus. It has accumulated the mass of several suns, and the gravitational pressure at its center is immense. It is on the very precipice of ignition. According to all the known laws of physics, this core should now be contracting rapidly, heating up, its core pressure building towards the millions of degrees needed to spark nuclear fusion and blaze forth as a new star. But it does not. The collapse has stalled. The core hangs in a state of perfect, agonizing tension. Why? Because it is not truly alone in the cold. It is constantly being bombarded by an invisible rain of energy. The hot, diffuse gas of the galactic halo, heated by the black hole's ancient jets, permeates everything. The particles of this hot gas, though few and far between, move at incredible speeds. They collide with the outer layers of Erebus, transferring their kinetic energy. This energy propagates inward, not as a violent shock wave, but as a subtle, pervasive vibration, a low-frequency hum that agitates the molecules within the protostellar core. It is the faintest of thermal whispers, but it is enough. This whisper of heat provides just enough outward pressure to counteract gravity's final, decisive squeeze. It is the thumb on the scale, the single grain of sand that prevents the balance from tipping. The atoms within the core are jostled, kept just energetic enough to resist the ultimate compression. Gravity pulls, and this thermal hum pushes back, locking the core in a state of eternal stalemate. One can almost feel its frustration. It is a cosmic seed, planted in fertile soil, given everything it needs to grow, but denied the final drop of water that would allow it to sprout. It is a life held in stasis, a breath that can never be fully drawn. For millions upon millions of years, this drama plays out in the dark heart of Erebus. The core slowly accumulates more mass, and gravity's pull strengthens. For a moment, it seems it might overcome the thermal barrier. The collapse begins to accelerate. But as it compresses, its own internal pressure and temperature rise, making it even more susceptible to the external heating. The thermal hum finds a more resonant frequency, and its push becomes stronger, halting the collapse once more. It is a perfectly engineered prison. The very act of trying to escape, of collapsing under gravity, strengthens the bars that hold it captive. This is the fate of every potential star in N9. A trillion seeds in a field that has been subtly poisoned. The galaxy is not dead, but paralyzed, its creative potential held hostage by the ghost of its own central engine. The silence of N9 is the collective, unheard scream of a trillion frustrated protostars, each one a universe of possibility denied, locked in a dark, cold cradle from which it will never emerge. This is the microscale consequence of the macroscale crime, a tragedy playing out atom by atom, cloud by cloud, across an entire galactic kingdom. The silence is not an absence of sound, but the sound of a promise being broken, over and over again, for eternity. The state of N9 is not its natural condition. It was not born silent. To understand the origin of its affliction, we must become cosmic archaeologists, digging back through the layers of deep time to witness the cataclysm that sealed its fate. Our journey takes us back 8 billion years. The universe was younger then, smaller, and far more violent. Galaxies were closer together, their gravitational embraces more intimate and often fatal. In this tumultuous era, N9 was a different entity altogether. It was vibrant, chaotic, and gloriously alive. Its spiral arms were ablaze with the brilliant blue-white light of newborn stellar giants. Its nebulae glowed with the fierce pink of ionized hydrogen, cosmic signposts advertising the furious pace of creation. It was a healthy, thriving galaxy, a beacon of light in the young cosmos. But it was not alone. On a collision course with it was a smaller, satellite galaxy, a dwarf spiral about a tenth of N9's mass. For eons, the two had been caught in a gravitational dance, a slow, spiraling waltz that was drawing them inexorably together. The final stages of this cosmic ballet were a spectacle of terrible beauty. As the smaller galaxy plunged through N9's disk, tidal forces, the differential pull of gravity, began to rip it apart. Great streamers of stars and gas were torn from the dwarf galaxy, forming immense tidal tails that arced across hundreds of thousands of light-years. The intruder's orderly structure was shredded, its stars scattered and assimilated into the larger body of N9. But it was the gas that held the key to the future tragedy. The merger acted like a giant cosmic spoon, violently stirring the contents of both galaxies. The gravitational disruption sent shockwaves through N9's gas reservoirs, triggering a spectacular, galaxy-wide burst of star formation. For 100 million years, N9 shone with a brilliance it had never known before, forging new stars at a rate thousands of times greater than our modern-day Milky Way. It was a golden age, a time of furious, brilliant life. But this same disruptive process had a far more sinister consequence. The merger had robbed the infalling gas of its angular momentum, its orbital energy. No longer able to maintain a stable orbit, colossal clouds of hydrogen, trillions of tons of it per second, began to plummet towards the galactic center. They formed a river of cold, dense gas, flowing directly towards the sleeping giant at the core, the supermassive black hole, N9 The feast that followed was of biblical proportions. The black hole, which had been quietly subsisting for eons, was suddenly inundated with a virtually unlimited supply of fuel. Its accretion disk swelled and ignited, blazing forth with the light of trillions of suns. N9 had become a quasar, the most luminous object in the universe. The light from this awakening was a beacon of death. The intense radiation pressure alone was enough to start clearing out the gas in the galactic core. But then, the jets were born. Fueled by the immense magnetic power of the bloated accretion disk, two titanic columns of relativistic plasma erupted from the poles of the black hole. They were weapons of galactic-scale destruction. They tore through the galaxy at nearly the speed of light, and the devastation they wrought was absolute. The starburst that the merger had initiated was abruptly terminated. The dense, star-forming clouds were vaporized, their contents heated to millions of degrees and blasted into the galactic halo. The jets punched clear through the entire galactic disk and continued for hundreds of thousands of light-years into intergalactic space, creating the vast radio lobes that we can still detect today. The event was a cosmic paradox. The very process that had triggered a brilliant explosion of life, the merger, had also fed the monster that would bring about a permanent death. For a few million years, N9 was one of the brightest objects in the sky. And then, as the last of the infalling gas from the merger was consumed or blown away, the quasar starved. The accretion disk flickered and died. The jets sputtered and ceased. The blinding light at the center of the galaxy faded, leaving behind a core shrouded in an eerie quiet. The galaxy settled back into its familiar spiral shape, the assimilated stars of its former companion enriching its halo. But it was forever changed. The heat from the quasar's rampage remained, trapped in the galactic halo, a permanent scar, an incurable fever. The golden age of star formation was over, and the long, silent age had begun. The murder weapon was the merger, and the monster's motive was its own insatiable nature. N9's vibrant past had been the architect of its barren future. Is this, then, the end of the story for N9? Is it destined to remain a silent monument, a cosmic relic slowly fading as its last ancient stars burn out one by one, until nothing is left but a swirl of cold cinders around a dark heart? Perhaps not. The universe, for all its violence, operates in cycles. Nothing, not even the silence of a quenched galaxy, is necessarily permanent. The reign of N9, while long, is finite. The energy it injected into the galactic halo is not a perpetual motion machine. Over immense time scales, far longer than the current age of our solar system, this heat will gradually radiate away into the cold vacuum of intergalactic space. The process is incredibly slow, a cooling that proceeds over billions of years. But it is inexorable. As the hot halo gas cools, it will lose the energy that props it up against the galaxy's gravitational pull. It will begin to fall back towards the galactic disk, a slow, gentle rain of cooling plasma. This process, known as a cooling flow, could, in theory, replenish the galaxy's supply of cold, star-forming gas. The cosmic oven will eventually turn off, and the sterile environment may once again become fertile. This is the galaxy's own healing mechanism, a slow recovery from its internal trauma. However, it is a race against time and against the very nature of the monster at its core. If the gas cools and falls towards the center too efficiently, it could reignite the black hole, starting the violent cycle of quenching all over again. The galaxy would be trapped in a cosmic yo-yo of feedback, a repeating pattern of cooling and heating that might prevent substantial star formation from ever taking hold again. A second possibility for rebirth lies outside the galaxy. N9 is not entirely isolated. It drifts through the tenuous, almost imperceptible filaments of the cosmic web, the so-called intergalactic medium. This medium is not a perfect vacuum, it contains a thin soup of pristine hydrogen and helium left over from the Big Bang. As N9 journeys through this medium, its immense gravity can slowly but surely capture this external gas. This is a process of cosmic accretion, the galaxy breathing in fresh fuel from its surroundings. Over many billions of years, it could accumulate enough new, cold gas that was never tainted by the heat of the AGN outburst, to trigger a new era of star formation. This would be a renaissance, a second life for the silent galaxy, fueled by material from beyond its own poison borders. The most dramatic, and perhaps most likely, path to rejuvenation is a repeat of the very event that caused its downfall, another merger. The universe is still a dynamic place. In the far distant future, another unsuspecting galaxy may wander into N9's gravitational grasp. A new cosmic dance would begin, culminating in another collision. This new merger would inject fresh gas and gravitational chaos into the system, potentially overwhelming the delicate thermal balance that currently enforces the silence. It could trigger a new, massive starburst, and for a time, N9 would live again, its arms once more glittering with the light of young, brilliant suns. The fate of N9 is thus an open question, a story whose final chapter has yet to be written. It exists in a state of profound hibernation, not true death. It is a sleeping kingdom, waiting for an external shock to awaken it, or for the slow, internal process of healing to finally overcome its ancient wounds. Its silence teaches us a profound lesson about the cosmos, that galaxies are not just islands of matter, but complex, evolving beings. They have life cycles, they have histories of violence and trauma, and they possess a deep, cosmic resilience. N9 is a testament to the fact that even in the face of near-total sterilization by its own heart, the potential for rebirth is never truly extinguished. It is merely waiting. Music. We have journeyed across billions of light-years to the edge of a silent kingdom. We have stood as silent witnesses to a cosmic crime scene, piecing together the clues left behind by an act of violence so immense it sterilized a trillion future worlds. The core mystery of N9, the beautiful, barren galaxy, is now resolved. It is not silent by choice, nor by chance. It is a kingdom held in a state of suspended animation, poisoned by the very heart that should give it life. We learned that in its distant, fiery youth, a cataclysmic merger with a smaller companion fed its central supermassive black hole, awakening it into a monstrous quasar. This engine of destruction, N9 unleashed titanic jets of energy that scoured the galaxy, boiling its reservoirs of star-forming gas and creating a pervasive, high-temperature halo. The jets have long since faded, the quasar has fallen dark, but the heat remains, a lingering fever that prevents the cold, dense clouds from collapsing under their own gravity to form new stars. Our investigation took us from the grandest of scales, the ghostly, galaxy-spanning radio lobes that are the faded smoke from the black hole's guns, down to the most intimate and tragic of scales. We ventured into the dark heart of a molecular cloud, a place named Erebus, and felt the profound frustration of a protostellar core, a sun in waiting, forever denied the final gravitational squeeze it needs to be born. It is held in a perfect, agonizing stalemate, a prisoner of a subtle thermal energy that whispers through the void, a constant reminder of the monster's ancient rage. We have uncovered a story not of simple death, but of a complex and violent cycle that governs the lives of galaxies. A story of how growth can lead to self-destruction, how the very events that foster life can also awaken the means of its suppression. N9 is a monument to this cosmic feedback loop, a perfect and terrible example of how a galaxy's own central engine can regulate its destiny. Its silence is the echo of a scream that tore through it billions of years ago. And yet, in the profound quiet, we also found a glimmer of hope. The universe is patient. The heat will, over unimaginable eons, dissipate. Fresh gas may rain down from the cosmos. Another merger may one day arrive to violently shake the galaxy from its slumber. N9 is not dead. It is sleeping a deep and enchanted sleep, waiting for a cosmic kiss or a violent shove to awaken it into a new age of creation. Its story is a profound meditation on the interplay between order and chaos, life and sterility, on the immense, unseen forces that shape the universe on its grandest stage. It reminds us that our own bustling, vibrant Milky Way is a delicate ecosystem, and that its relative peace is a fragile gift, not a cosmic guarantee. The universe is filled with such stories, etched in the light of distant stars and the shadows between them. Each silent galaxy, each brilliant nebula, is a chapter in an epic narrative that began 138 billion years ago. We are, for a fleeting moment, privileged enough to be able to read a few of its pages. Now, look up at the night sky, at the faint, hazy band of our own galaxy stretching overhead. Imagine its silent cousin scattered throughout the void. Imagine the forces at play, the delicate balance that allows for our own existence. What would you have done if you could witness it? If you could have stood on a world within N9 as its central core ignited, watching as the very heavens were set on fire by your own galaxy's heart, knowing it was both the most beautiful and the most final sight you would ever see? What would you have felt, knowing that the light that filled your sky was the very same energy that was extinguishing your future,